Ooh.
Good morning. Welcome to the Lorain County Board of Commissioners meeting of May 5th, 2021. This meeting will now come to order. We will rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And our inspirational word for the day comes from Romans. We know that these troubles produce patience, and patience produces character.
Thank you, Commissioner Lundy. We'll start with a proclamation. Madam Clerk?
We have a proclamation today proclaiming May 3rd through the 9th, 2021 as National Corrections Officer Week in Lorain County. And I believe we have Assistant Jail Administrator Jim Gordon and Operations Director Mike Crum from Lorain County Sheriff's Office, but I do see two other people. So.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and read it. And in the matter of proclaiming May 3rd to the 9th, 2021 is National Corrections Officer Week in Lorain County, Ohio. Whereas in 1984, Ronald Reagan issued Proclamation 5187, declaring the week beginning May 6, 1984, as National Correctional Officer Week, and whereas corrections officers are essential to the day-to-day operations of these institutions, prisons and jails, and without them, it would be impossible to achieve the foremost institutional goals of security and control. Whereas in recent years, the duties of corrections officers have become increasingly complex and demanding, the professionalism, dedication, and courage exhibited by these officers while performing this demanding role deserves our utmost respect, and whereas it is appropriate that we honor the many contributions and accomplishments of these men and women who are a vital component of the field of corrections. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Commissioners of Lorain County, Ohio, that we hereby declare the week of May 3rd to the 9th, 2021 as National Corrections Officer Week in honor of the men and women whose diligence and professionalism ensure the custody, safety, and well-being of our inmates. Does anyone want to come up and say a few words? Teresa?
Yes.
Janelle's supposed to take a picture.
Yes. I'll go get her because I know she took a picture of proclamations.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Gordon.
I'm Jim Gordon. I'm an assistant jail administrator. I just wanted to thank each one of you for inviting us here and for honoring our correctional staff. In our division, we have a lot of moving parts. We have corrections officers, and they take care of our safety and security of our facility. And we have medical staff. They take care of our inmate sickness and inmate sick calls. We have mental health staff, we have clerks, and we have maintenance. So it's a big division, but we all work well together, and all of us have one main goal: to serve the people of Lorain County the way that they need to be served, the best we can. And I know you didn't get their names, but we have Officer Jacob Bell and Officer Jason Thomas here with us too.
Thank you. Okay, we are just waiting on our office staff to bring the camera.
Oh, okay.
I apologize for the
I
delay.
was still go get the proclamation. Give it to them. It's right there anyway.
Oh, here we are. We're ready now. Okay, so we'll just pause for that now. Are we doing a picture, guys?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Station and application.
Maybe I jumped the gun there on the picture, I apologize.
But yeah, seriously, if you guys want to set something up.
Sure,
let me know.
I'll talk to Captain Ham and we'll.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, and before we proceed, any additional comments from the commissioners?
Yes, if I could, Madam President, I just wanted to say that for anyone who's ever had the opportunity to tour a jail facility or for a correctional facility, that it is a very challenging job. Very few people can actually do the job or step up to serve in the capacity. And I just want to thank them for what they've done. I think it's also important to point out, as we're recognizing corrections officers this week, in addition to our amazing correction staff at the county jail, that we have 2 correctional facilities in our county. And I know we have a lot of county employees that are county individuals who are employed at those facilities, whether it be at Lorraine or Grafton Correctional, the state facilities that do amazing work. You know, I guess just on a personal note, I guess I'd like to add that I was disappointed that early on that whether it's corrections or the frontline people weren't moved up towards the top of the list to be vaccinated. And unfortunately, we saw lots of incidents with corrections officers. Thankfully, we were in pretty good shape with our county, but statewide, a lot of correctional officers did have issues and battles with COVID. So, you know, they perform the job day in and day out. And obviously, when you work in that line of work, it's hard to maintain the social distance that so many of us are used to doing. So they are our local heroes. And I think when we think of frontline and we think of first responders, we tend to forget about the corrections officers. We know about the firemen, we know about the EMTs, we know about the police officers, but we tend not to think about the corrections officers that play a very vital role. So it's a tough job, and they definitely, when you see them in the community, certainly thank them for their service.
I know, I agree. I think a tour of the jail, everybody should do.
Yeah.
I did that back when it was, you know, daughter come to work days like 20 years ago here, and the sheriff allowed me to tour with my daughter. And it's amazing what really facilities looks like. You got a lot of TV shows glorifying certain things, but I can tell you right now, you do a tour of a jail, you don't want to spend an hour in that jail. No. So it could be a good deterrent, I can tell you that right now. So, but yep, they do a lot of good work, and got some friends out there, so I know what they are struggling every day. So I give them a lot of credit for what they got put up with, you know. So.
Okay, thank you, commissioners, and we will move on to B, resolutions.
Number 1, investments.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion was made by Hung, seconded by Moore. Any discussion from the board? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Yep.
Commissioner Lundy.
Aye.
Number 2, appropriations.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion was made by Hung, seconded by Moore. Any discussion from the board? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy.
Aye.
Number 3, transfers.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion was made by Hung, seconded by Moore. Any discussion from the board? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy.
Aye.
No, number 4, no advances or repayments. Number 5, requisitions.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion was made by Hung, seconded by Moore. Any discussion from the board? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy.
Aye.
Number 6, travel. There were none. Number 7, bills.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion was made by Hung, seconded by Moore. Any discussion from the board? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy.
Aye.
Okay, the next item of business is number 8. Authorize various personnel actions as indicated on the summary sheet for employees within the jurisdiction of the Lorraine County Board of Commissioners. At the conclusion of today's board meeting, the commissioners may recess into an executive session to discuss personnel, new hires, and various board appointments. The next item of business is number 9. I move to approve and waive the reading of the meeting minutes of April 20th and April 28th, 2021.
Second.
Motion was made by Hung, seconded by Moore. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy.
Aye.
Okay, and the next item of business is number 10. Madam Clerk, please read the resolution into the record.
Accept the withdrawal of 0.87 acres annexation petition from New Russia Township to the City of Overland for petitioners Road to Hope House, Inc., an Ohio corporation not-for-profit, David Knox, President and Board of Directors, and Agent Brandon G. Oliver, Esquire, and the annexation petition for 80th M. Ward, Irrevocable Trust, Karen M. Fernston, trustee, and Kristen M. McDonald, trustee.
Okay, move to approve.
Second?
Motion was made by Hung, seconded by Moore. Any discussion from the board? Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hung,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore,
Yep.
Commissioner Lundy.
Aye.
Okay, moving on to community development. The next item of business is number 11.
Apply for the Ohio EPA Targeted Brownfield Assessment Program grant for former Rainbow Sunoco on East Lorraine, Overland. Grant for Phase 1 and 2 will reduce the health and environmental impacts of the surrounding residents.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Motion was made by Hung, seconded by Moore. Any discussion from the board?
I would just like to add, I know we've got a lot of these issues, throughout the county and throughout counties in Ohio, so it's stuff that these are items that the county's always tried to stay on top of, and so that we can address a lot of these tanks that are in the ground.
Let's see, we have the director here. Do you guys have any comments in regards to this issue today?
Yes, we have with us our
Come on. Come on up. Come on up. Yep.
Yep.
Okay, we have Mr. Reese Dutton coming up to the podium.
And I like his tie. Happy Cinco de Mayo Day.
Thank you, Board of Commissioners. So this is a grant that's through, again, Ohio EPA. We had a resident from Oberlin that reached out to us. We, the county, are an eligible applicant to do Phase 1 and 2 testing that will hopefully eventually remove some tanks. There was a gas station there that was operated in his family through, I believe it was the 60s, and that was raised, but there's still tanks in the ground. Obviously, that's not good. Would like to be able to know what the extent of that contamination is, eventually hopefully apply for another grant through Ohio Development Services Agency, but first we have to have these Phase 1 and 2s done. Eventually, he has expressed interest in working with us in doing a residential, commercial type building on the property once it's hopefully cleaned up. So that is the intent with this grant application, is to be in the process and all that.
So you're applying for a grant to pay for a Phase 1 and Phase 2?
That is correct.
That's, okay, that's, has nothing to do with cleaning up or anything. This is just to tell us what the damage,
Right, it's,
if there is any. I mean,
yep.
And if there isn't any damage, then we still have tanks though. So what would be the next step, do you know, or?
I would say the next step is to get a no further action. That's a letter that's from the Ohio Department of Commerce, BUSTR, BUSTR, the storage tank regulators, and for them to sign off and say that the property's okay to, that there's no reason to sue or proceed with any kind of legal action against the property owner, which is, that's what we'd be looking for, a covenant not to sue or something along those lines.
Do you know how much the grant's gonna be for?
Usually a Phase 1 will be a few $1,000s. And again, if the Phase 1 recommends a Phase 2, the Phase 2 is generally gonna be a little bit more, maybe 20 or 30,000. So this is money that we're able to bring to the county. The residents not able to pay for it. Obviously the city's not able to, and being able to, again, bring that money is something that I see as a value that we bring to the county and residents.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is, being a manufacturing state, we have a lot of, locations that obviously folks would like to be able to redevelop and use for a new purpose someday. And a lot of the brownfield stuff was started under Governor Taft, and his administration did a great job of really emphasizing the need for this program in a manufacturing state to turn around properties for redevelopment. So it's worked out really well. I remember we did one, I just can't remember the site in Lorraine, and the governor literally flew in on his helicopter and landed on site and talked about the Brownfield Initiative. And so it's an important program for Ohio. It's important that Ohio keep the program going too.
Definitely.
Well, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dutton. Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hung,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore,
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy.
Aye.
Okay, moving on to airport. The next item of business is number 12.
Approve a change order number 2 to Erie Blacktop, Inc. for the Airport Rehabilitated Taxiways A, C, and D project. This is a no-cost change order, but reflects an adjustment of project quantities due to actual field conditions therefore resulting in a credit of $124,310.91 adjustment in the total contract.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion was made by Hung, seconded by Moore. Any discussion from the board? I'd like to say it's always nice to see a resolution with a credit, Madam
Yes,
Clerk.
That's a good thing.
Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy.
Aye.
Next item of business is number 13.
Authorize a grant application to be submitted to the Ohio Department of Transportation Office of Aviation for fiscal year 2022 Ohio Airport Grant Program to replace Taxiway C in Taxiway D lighting.
Okay, move to approve.
Second.
Motion was made by Hung, seconded by Moore. Any discussion from the board? Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy.
Aye.
Okay, moving on to the Office of the Engineer. The next item of business is number 14. Madam Clerk, please read the resolution into the record.
Approve a proposal with Burgess and Nyepel in the amount of $49,900 to assist with preparation of the environmental documentation, preliminary engineering, utility coordination, and design-built bidding documents for the replacement of Peck Wadsworth Road Bridge number 0783. Estimated construction cost of this project is $1,101,000, of which 80% will be funded by the Federal Highway Administration. Funding has been approved for fiscal year 2025, and the county engineer is electing to develop this project utilizing the design-built methodology and will be paid from the engineer project bridge account.
Okay, move to approve.
Second.
Motion was made by Hung, seconded by Moore. Any discussion from the board? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hunt?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy.
Aye.
Next item of business is number 15.
Award and enter in a contract with Sherman Construction, Inc., North Olmsted, in the amount of $226,772 for the Stony Ridge Road Bridge 0424 Rehabilitation Project, Avon. 5 bids were opened on April 22nd, this being the most responsive complying with specifications. Issue notice to proceed beginning on or around July 19, 2021, and complete on or before October 31st, 2021. Authorize administrator to notify the auditor to release retainage at the completion of project and will be paid from the engineer bridge account.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion was made by Hung, seconded by Moore. Any discussion from the board? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy.
Aye.
Next item of business is number 16.
Advertise and receive bids for the 2021 countywide chip and seal program. Notice to be in the Journal on May 7th and 14th and open at 2 p.m. on May 25th. This project consists of performing chip and seal pavement treatment to approximately 47 miles of county and township roads throughout Lorraine County, and the estimated cost is $851,048.60.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion was made by Hung, seconded by Moore. Any discussion from the board? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy.
Aye.
Next item of business is number 17.
Authorize a 7-year lease purchase agreement with KS State Bank in the amount of $214,596.82 for the purchase of a Volvo single-axle plow truck with Swenson dump body and hopper spreader to be paid from the equipment lease account.
Okay, move to approve.
Second.
Motion was made by Hung, seconded by Moore. Any discussion from the board?
I guess I'd first like to point out, if I could, just so the taxpayers are aware that, you know, how expensive it is to operate things in government. We're talking about one plow truck and with a dump body, you know, $214,000. You know, I just always like to hit the pause button every once in a while and remind people how expensive it is. You know, even for our patrol vehicles, I think they're almost estimating $50,000 or $52,000 a piece to purchase. And so I just think it's important for the public to know how things quickly add up in government. And I think we all know, I think the year I graduated from high school, you could buy a new car at, $2,800 or $3,000. And now I think the average price of a car in the country is maybe $32,000. So, you know, things do change, and that's why sometimes it's a challenge for government to keep up with the rising cost of things, but that's important to point out. The only other matter I guess I'd like to bring up, and I've had this discussion with the engineer's office before, is that my preference would be that we actually be purchasing what I would call an American-made product. I mean, I know that Volvo operates in the U.S., but I guess I would prefer something that's along the line of GMC or Ford or something of that nature. And I've told the engineer's office before that if it's an emergency situation, I might handle it differently. But, I don't know if I consider this to be kind of an emergency situation. So I have reservations about a Volvo truck purchase today, and I just wanted to share my thoughts.
Thank you, Commissioner. And for the public, just so, for their information, 7 annual payments of $34,000. It's a lease to buy. And the pictures will be on the Facebook page. We've got a Volvo single axle Allison that comes in at $113,000, and then the Kalita truck equipment, which is the stainless steel dump body, the hopper spreader, and the snowplow at $100,000. So that's how we get to that total price. And there will be pictures on the Facebook site, on the Facebook page, if you want to see what this equipment looks like. Okay, Commissioner Moore? All set?
Yep, I've seen that type of equipment. It's expensive.
It is expensive.
Yeah, my only concern is how it looks like we're financing it with leasing and, does the prosecutor office go through all that usually
Yes,
beforehand?
yeah, he signed off on it. Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy.
No?
Next item of business is number 18. Madam Clerk, please read the resolution into the record.
Authorize the participation in ODOT winter contract for the 2022-2023 road salt.
Okay, move to approve.
Second?
Motion was made by Hung, seconded by Moore. Any discussion from the board? Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy.
Aye.
Okay, moving on to the sheriff. The next item of business is number 19. Madam Clerk, please read the resolution into the record.
Approve a Project Dawn kit furnishing agreement with Lorraine County Public Health, Lorraine County Sheriff's Office, effective retroactive to November 25th, 2020 through July 31st, 2022. Health Department will reimburse the sheriff $10,000 to implement the program.
Move to approve.
Second?
Motion was made by Hung, seconded by Moore. Any discussion from the board? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy.
Aye.
Okay, moving on to reports. We have, first up, County Administrator Tom Williams. Tom? Administrator Williams is here.
I love these.
You can have them.
I never turn away free food, so.
Shells.
What?
I
Hey,
plead the fifth.
yeah, no, just, first thing I want to point out is, Detroit Tigers are in last place, have the worst record in Major League Baseball. No, this past weekend we had a outage at 911, for about 10 to 15 minutes. I know it's been reported it was an hour. It's actually more about 10 to 15. And the situation is a little disturbing. Nothing critical. It just the only way I can put it is plain stupidity on the way the system was set up. Really unfortunate. With 911, we do a lot of redundant systems in order, if we have a problem, the redundant system is supposed to protect it. Well, we had our fiber optic cable that came in, and you got two power supplies. Again, a redundant power supply in case one went out, the other one was there. They actually plugged it into a single power strip. So they had both power supplies go into a $10 power strip, and then went into a single outlet that was on a uninterrupted power source, a UPS. So when the power went out for 30 seconds and then our backup generators came on, it took 10 to 15 minutes for the power supplies to go through and do this. So how we found this out is we went through, we started looking at, hey, did we have an issue with our generators? Did we have any other problems? We looked at the cameras, noticed that the 911 cameras, or 911 systems did not have any interruption at all. So we knew that the power source was good. So that leads us now to where are we at with the communication? What happened to the communication to take 911 down? So the director and I went into our IT area and we actually started pulling cables and going through, and then we found out after looking at this what I just described. one going to a single power outlet and then going over into a outlet that wasn't part of the UPS system. So we fixed that. I actually went through, I had the director go get a extension cord. We took it from a AB, which is going to be connected to the UBS system, and then we ran it over to the power outlets, and boom, it went through, no issues. So we got a temporary fix put in place early, and now we have an electrician there going through and doing what should have been done when this was actually first installed. So that's corrected. To make sure that we don't have any other hidden gems, we're going through and we're having our IT department go look at every outlet to make sure that they're connected in a way that they should be. So it's unfortunate, but it was a good exercise because it was a minor issue in order to go out and find this. So we still have the issue at hand as far as why did the power go out? And we're doing a corrective action investigation. And when we get this, we will put together all our details and then we'll have a report on that. We're not sure if it was a First Energy issue or if it was something in our building. That's going to take a little bit of time to go through and actually dig in to find that out. Another problem that we have, the reason we can't tell this is because they never put a gauge in the system to actually tell if we had interrupted power going into 911, which surprises me because any manufacturing company I go to, I'm working with, we actually have that on there because if you're going to make a widget, you want to make sure that and you're using current, that you got the correct current going in there, and it's important that you know where your power is and if it's going to be interrupted. Now our backup generators will kick on when that happens, but we don't have a way to monitor it. So we will be going through and putting in this gauge, and you know it's something that's silly. It's going to only be probably $5,000, but it should have been something that was implemented at the design of 911. And then we found some other things I can go through. I can't mention it in here because it's potential security issues, but we will be doing some updates at 911 from the result of this. Just going out, investigating, and then questions being asked. Why are we doing it this way, and why was it decided? So
you're going to have a formal investigation, and you'll have something that you can give us in
right,
writing?
and maybe not investigate. We're going to do a analysis of it. We'll go through and do a failure mode evaluation analysis. We have a good idea of what caused 911 to go down, but we don't know what actually caused the power to go out yet.
That's what I mean. Once you have all that information, you'll be able to
Yeah.
present it to the three of us. And
Correct. And typically on this, what I tell people is give us 30 days. Because when it's not just something where we can go through and type up a report. It's looking at every single item. And it's also getting into definitions of what is a power outage, what we consider a power outage, and what First Energy may consider a power outage, two different things. If they're not sending out a truck, and because power only went out for a few seconds, they may not consider that a power outage. So we have to get into that investigation and determine how did that impact the system. The good news is, if the power would go out again, the backup generators are working properly. We have corrected the situation with putting this, the power supplies, now on two dedicated sources that's going to be put part of the UPS. And then we are going through and we're looking at all the wiring in the system to make sure that all the outlets are, that are supposed to be are connected to a UPS. Now a question may come up and say, well, why didn't you put a UPS for the entire building? You could do that. The generators actually, go through and charge the UPS systems. It's just expensive. And then other things that we found is, we got to dive into it. They actually had diesel marked as the primary for the backup generator and natural gas as a secondary, which is the complete opposite of what you would think, because natural gas is going to be a flow that comes in and you only go to diesel on that. And we're reviewing it to find out, okay, is it just a schematic issue where they marked it wrong, or is it truly that an issue where we are going to have to reverse it? Not going to impact the 911 services, but these are just things that are coming up now that we had this type of failure. So, good. I just want to give congratulations to, one, our team, our director, getting in there quickly, bringing the team on in order to find out what the issues were. Our facility management, and getting electricians out there, taking a look at our generators, and then our team in general just coming together and looking at it. And again, this happened Sunday night. We had an electrician in this morning going through and doing a hardwired and do a permanent fix on it. We found some areas of that we need to improve on, even our communication, and we're working on that, and we'll be developing a process on there. And this will all be part of our corrective action.
It'll be in the investigative,
I'm sorry?
it'll be in the report you're gonna file.
It will be a report. Now, this won't be a report that's going to be, I believe, available to the general public, because it's going to include a lot of safety issues that we find for 911. But again, it's opportunity, and that's why we do corrective action, is because we go in, we have one problem, and then we start looking at everything and detailing what the problems were. And when you do a failure mode evaluation analysis, you write down all the different things that could have occurred, and then you weight them. And then your team goes through and you actually do the evaluation. You come up and you say, hey, this is a legit concern, or this is a minor issue. And then when we get into minor issues, then we start talking about how does that impact the business. And I know that's probably the wrong term for government, but still being from the private sector, that's why I look at business opportunities. And what do we want to do with it? What's the cost going to be in order to go through and fix everything? 911 is important, but we're not the military either, so that's going to be part of the discussion.
If I could, Madam President, had a conversation with the director this morning. His direct comment to me was this was 100% the failure of the telephone company.
Is what?
100% the failure of the telephone company, his direct quote to me.
I'm sorry, 100% failure of what?
The telephone company, Windstream.
Well, Windstream is where the fiber optic cable comes in. I don't like bringing up the names of companies, because we
Well,
also do when it was installed, part of it is going through and verifying the work. Part of the work order should have been, and I'm assuming was in there, that we had to have a redundant system.
There is a redundant system. There's backup generators. There's even a designated underground line that goes into the facility. I think you would acknowledge, and I guess I would ask the board, maybe it's important to have somebody who's an expert in 911 facilities. I think you'd acknowledge that you're not. I understand you're an engineer, but I think it's important to have somebody who actually is familiar with 911 systems probably take a look at anything that may have been overlooked or not done properly.
Well, in this case, if I
believe-
could, I think it's just common sense.
Let me finish. Thank you. When things are put in place, you have to rely on vendors who are supposed to be well-informed as to how these systems operate. And what I am tired of is getting blamed for failures in the system that are the blame of the phone company. We had issues with the phone company when something went down in Twinsburg, of all places, and it's important for the public to know we do not get calls directly. They do not go directly from your home directly to our 911 center. They must first pass through the phone company. Also, under Ohio Revised Code, the phone company that serves the county seat is the backbone of the operation, so we have to rely heavily on them. So I just don't want us jumping to conclusions here, in the public as far as this and that, and I also don't want to get into the specifics of what operates, what doesn't operate from the standpoint of I consider it to be a security issue. I don't want anybody to know how the system's designed, what the vulnerabilities are, but when the director tells me that this, once again, because my first question was this the phone company again? And I get the answer, Commissioner, 100%. In fact, I think he said the direct quote was 101%. It was the phone company. That's what I've been informed. But I don't think it benefits us to get into all the specifics of how this system operates, how all the, duplications are set up, the backup systems are set up, for the sake of a security issue. So the important thing is that we're going to look into it. It's going to be done internally so that nothing's exposed as far as vulnerabilities for any system. Every system has a vulnerability. Microsoft, for Pete's sakes, has been hacked into. Who would ever think that that would happen? But, let's do our investigation. Let's make sure it's done by those who are, experts in the 911 operations. And then let's address it to keep it from happening again. The sad part is that we can do everything under the sun, but if the phone company fails us, we can't necessarily fix the phone company. And the calls don't come to us directly. So I just want to make that clear. I don't think it's beneficial to have this big conversation explaining all the operations because of Homeland Security and security purposes, but I am not going to have this county take the blame when the phone company has dropped the ball again.
I agree. I think the fact is, my statement was let's wait for the report. I feel that whether or not it's the phone company, it could be. It sounds like it may be, but I'm not about to sit there and say anything in regards to it until I see a completed investigation. And that's why I was wondering how long it would take to get the investigation.
Yeah.
It sounds like there's a lot of issues, and because of this, we found more issues.
Yeah.
And it sounds like there's corrective action, which is what I like. This is what I like hearing. I like hearing people are coming together, no one's pointing fingers, and they're fixing it. And that's all I want to hear. Okay. And but I'd like to have a paper trail so that we know that if it was something on our part, then we know about it. If it's not on our part and somebody else's part, then we know about it. But right now, I'm surprised. I wish it would take quicker than 30 days, but I know this type of stuff, takes a while. So, sorry.
No, that's okay, Mr. Administrator, if I could add, I was over at 911 at right around 4 o'clock on Monday, and I do like to come in and say hello to the dispatchers and talk to them, and I can't tell you how appreciative they were, not only to the Board of Commissioners, but to you, the county administrator and our facilities director, because they saw people coming through the center, getting back to the control room to, assess the situation, and all day. They noted it, and they noticed how proactive our team was to get in there and look at what was going on. And I don't expect an answer right here, right now, but, just to hear that you guys were so proactive on getting the situation looked at and addressed, I certainly appreciate it. I think we all appreciate that.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't think it's just one point, one area. We had, again, not giving out the details, we're just talking about power supply. The company plugging into a power strip, a dual, redundant system into the same power strip, yeah, that's an issue. Us not having our UPS marked on the outlets. Typically, when you go into a hospital, when you see a red outlet, that's indicating that's a UPS system. And so that's the biggest issue there. So I'm not looking at placing blame. I'm just pointing out where our weaknesses are on this, and that we just need to fix it. And our team's going through, and we're doing it. Last thing as an administrator, I never thought I would be back in IT area pulling wires to go through and double check it, but that's what we do in order to find the root cause. We're not looking for a simple, okay, we fixed it. No, we're actually explaining to everyone, this was the issue. It's an opportunity. Anytime we have a mistake, we're not going to be 100%. But when we do have it, we go through and we fix it. We use it as an opportunity to fix it and look at everything. And it's exciting, as an engineer to go through and do this stuff, but at the same time, we're getting a little too many opportunities. So,
I know, but you're an engineer and you talk engineering, and that's great to me. So,
but
the fact that you guys are hiring outside experts, like electricians and what have you, to go through?
Well, our electrician is the one that was, that helped design the facility. He was there. We're utilizing the proper vendors that come in. Did I misunderstand your question? I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing today.
That's okay.
All right, that's the end of it. Appreciate the
All right,
goldfish.
enjoy those goldfish,
I will,
County
so.
Administrator. Okay, Assistant County Prosecutor, Mr. Dan Petticord, do you have a report today, sir?
do. It'll be much shorter than Mr. Williams' report. I noticed in the Chronicle this morning, there was an article about the annexation petition filed by KNG, the Village of Grafton. I wanted to update the board and let you know that the parties did provide us the briefings that we had asked for on Monday. I got all three of the briefs on Monday. I believe Teresa has copies. My intention is to summarize those and provide them in memo format to the three of you. I think we can do that over the next few days. We are in what's called the window for a decision, meaning that you have roughly 30 days from now to make a decision.
Yeah, because I think I was hoping today, but I guess.
Yeah, I'd like to be able to look at the briefs.
I know, I didn't realize you needed some more time.
What can I tell you, Dave? I don't know. I did. Gretchen Holderman, who's one of the lawyers, said to me, she said, because the comment you made about we could be ready for decision as early as today, she called me later and she said, "You're not really going to read all of that and get that prepared for them." And I said, "No, I'm really, really not." But
My apologies.
But I will have that to you by the end of this week. We are within the time limit you are within the time frame that's allowable for the decision. The parties are aware of it, and all of the parties want you to do it right and get it done right so we can move forward. That's the only part of my report that I have. There is one piece of current litigation that I'd like to discuss during executive session, Madam President, if possible.
Yes,
and
sir,
that's it.
I have that. Okay, thank you for that report, Mr. Petticord. We will now move on to Commissioners' reports. Wait, you were done, right, sir?
Yeah, I was.
Okay, we'll now move on to Commissioners' report. Commissioner Lundy, you are first up this week.
Okay. Thank you. First, I'd like to report that NOACA continues to work on its 2050 long-range plan. There was a public meeting that was held through Zoom earlier that was late last week, and very, very well attended, getting a lot of input and just making folks more aware of what our travel patterns are in the area, our highway usage, what impact decisions with, exit ramps and adding extra lanes, what kind of impact that has to the communities nearby and to the economy, and wanting to make sure that we're not engaging in sprawl. It's hard to be expanding things when you don't necessarily have a growth in population, and you get into these patterns of just moving jobs from one area to another instead of it actually being for new jobs. So, but that was, I thought, a very productive public meeting, and they'll be coming out with the input from the public here shortly. Also, to the family of former Councilman, Avon Lake Councilman Gary Izzo, I want to continue to send out our prayers and sympathies to them. I know the loss of Councilman Izzo certainly greatly impacted the family and the community. Gary got elected to council, I think it was in 2019, and shortly after getting elected, found out that he was going to have a battle with cancer. And but he has quite a long, extensive history of service, first serving in the Peace Corps. Also worked for the Department of Justice. I understand he also headed up the education programs. I believe it was for the state of Indiana in the correction system. But just a real humble man, real down to earth, extremely intelligent, and just one of the nicest people you'd ever meet. And sadly, cancer claimed his life. There was a tree planted at the Avon Lake Justice Center there on Walker Road on Sunday. Just an amazing turnout for that, showing about the many people whose lives he's touched in the community and how greatly they respected him. So we'll continue to keep he and his family in our prayers. Finally, our community protection team met again yesterday. This is the group that meets every week to make sure everybody's communicating with everybody about how we get through this pandemic, working together. Dave Koval, our health department director, said that the case count is it's going down. Almost every case that they're having are now with folks who are not vaccinated. Once again, emphasizing the importance of getting the vaccination, but they've said almost every case that they now have are folks that have reported that they weren't vaccinated. The options are out there now. You can literally choose whether you want the one-shot J&J, the Moderna, the Pfizer. Those options are available when you go for your shots. The vaccines are working according to the hospitals. We're not seeing vaccinated people in the hospitals. There has been a 20% decline, however, in the vaccination rates, so things are slowing down. Supply is definitely exceeding demand, but it's so important that we get to these herd immunity plateaus. I think here in the county we're somewhere in the neighborhood of close to, I think, 51% in that area, but obviously we need to do better and hope that people will talk to their doctors, talk to their neighbors and friends who've been vaccinated, and work through whatever concerns you might have, because the sooner we can get everybody vaccinated, sooner we can get rid of these masks that we have to wear every day and really get life back to normal. Also wanted to point out that there are going to be vaccination clinics available at Lorraine High School and Erie High School again this Saturday from 9 until 3. No appointments are needed, so if you're concerned about, I have to go online and schedule my appointment or download an app like many folks had to first out of the gate, no longer have to do that. No appointments needed. You can show up at Lorraine High, Elyria High, between the hours of 9 and 3 on Saturday, and you'll probably even get to choose what shot you'd like to receive. And that completes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Lundy. I have no report. Commissioner Moore, do you have a report?
No report today, thank you.
Okay, our next item is E, Clerk's report.
I
Madam
have
Clerk?
no report.
Oh, no report. Okay. Our next item is F, Board Correspondence. I move to waive the reading of the Board Correspondence due to a lengthy executive session we have scheduled.
Second.
Motion was made by Hung, seconded by Moore. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy.
Aye.
Okay, at this time, I move to adjourn into executive session to discuss personnel issues, employment and new hires, and pending litigation.
Second.
Motion was made by Hung, seconded by Moore. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy.
Aye.
Okay, we have returned from executive session and our meeting is back in session. I move to approve the personnel summary sheet.
Second?
Motion was made by Hung, seconded by Moore. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hung,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore.
Yep.
Commissioner Lundy.
Aye.
Okay, meeting announcements. Our next regularly scheduled board meeting is Wednesday, May 12th, 2021 at 9:30 a.m. Commissioners, is there any further business? Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned.